Thank you for checking out Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network. I am your host, Mark, and we welcome Greg Franco and Jay Niimi of Man's Body to the podcast. This is the band name that really did me in while I was researching for the show, but that's kind of what the guys wanted. When Greg and Jay met over a podcast, by the way, there was an instant connection. They immediately decided to start a band, but the band is comprised of 3 members, and they didn't all meet until the day they went into the studio to record their first EP. And while the band started off as a side project, it quickly became Greg and Jay's main band. So follow them at Man's Body Chicago on Facebook and Instagram. Pick up the latest album, A Set of Steak Knives, on Bandcamp. Follow us at Performance ANX on social media. Check out performanceanx.threadless.com for merch and ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety to treat us to coffee. Rate and review and check out the other great shows on the Pantheon Podcast Network. Now check out Man's Body on Performance Anxiety.
Okay. Well, I'll start. This is Jay Niimi from the band Man's Body, phoning in from Chicago and Los Angeles. We have a new record out called A Set of Steak Knives. Check it out if you can. We're on Bandcamp. And you're listening to the Performance Anxiety podcast.
This is Greg from Man's Body, and you're listening to the Performance Anxiety podcast. And I'm in Los Angeles. Jay and I have started a band called Man's Body. And we have an album called A Set of Steak Knives, and we have a new vinyl release coming out. And we're excited to be here.
Hey! Shut him up! Recording now! This is literally the first time I've ever had to yell at anybody to get the dog to shut up during a podcast, so history's being made.
I know how it is.
Give him some food.
He's already too fat. Man, ridiculous. All right, so let's jump right on into this, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I've been listening to the album, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really cool, and I've got a bunch of questions for you guys.
Right on.
So the first thing I want to do is find out how you guys got into music in the first place. Like, was it something that was big in your family? Were you listening to a lot of music, or were you the outcast that wanted to play music and nobody else did? Or Jay, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, my mom had a lot of LPs laying around. She had good taste in music. So when I was about 8 or 9, I discovered the Beatles, and that was kind of the beginning. I'd say the beginning of the road. The Beatles blew my little mind open.
The long and winding road.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Boom.
You know, the White Album and Revolver, and so it kind of planted a seed. I didn't start playing an instrument until I was 14 when I started playing guitar, and then I took up drums in college.
Oh, okay.
But I'm primarily a guitar player, I guess. But I'm a guitar player who plays drums.
Hey, that works, man. That's good. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with the stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Try doing that in person. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself, because you are your greatest asset. And a special offer to Performance Anxiety listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/performanceanxiety. That's betterhelp.com/performance anxiety. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Greg, what about you? How did you get into it and what drew you in?
My folks were into music too. Nobody played any instruments. I played accordion when I was a kid, and I don't know, I did really well at it, and then I won some kind of prize, and then I just quit right after because I thought, since I won, why continue?
You've reached the pinnacle.
You hear me?
There, you're back.
Okay, because I'm getting phone calls from Spam Risk right now. Like I got 4 phone calls right now. Anyway, I don't know how to block that. I got into the orchestra when I was a kid. They put me on French horn. I was in the marching band in high school. I kind of quit that kind of music and started playing in bands. I started my own band when I was like, my brother and I started a band. We were like 15, 16, and we went from the bedroom to the clubs, and we were like playing cool shows. And I was going to UCLA at the time, and I had a band called Blasphemous Yellow. It was like in the mid 80s. On the scene with bands like Minutemen and all that stuff. So we were like,
wow,
happening in that scene in the 80s. And then in the 90s, I had a band and, continued to work and play music. And then I had a band called Ferdinand for 10 years. And then I started a band called Rough Church.
Poets, drop your pens, join a warlord. Take your bright hearts into the dark. Stake your beloved claim upon the cold dirt, preserving our high water mark. Rifles up and be bold. The bullet of ignorance.
And then Jay and I met up around 2015, something like that. And
okay,
that was through our friend Andy Crichton. And so it just became like a thing where Jay and I realized on some level that we both had this similar path in life. And so when we met, it was just like, let's start a band, that kind of thing.
Oh, awesome.
So I always played guitar and sang. And this band, I just sing, which is kind of cool. I don't have to bring a guitar to the gig. And Man's Body has put out, what do we put out now? An EP and 2 records. So, but I've put out tons of records on my other bands as well. And I guess I kind of got addicted to it, but probably around 1983 when I first started.
Wow.
Playing bands.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jay, how old were you when you started gigging?
When I started gigging, I think I was about 15.
Wow. So like a year after you started?
Yeah, like a year after I started.
Wow.
And my first club show was, I think I was 16. I played in a bar in Detroit.
Oh my gosh.
My parents actually let me take the car and drive to Detroit from Chicago.
Oh my gosh. I would never let my kids do that.
I know. I don't know what they were thinking.
It was a different time, man. Oh my gosh. How did you guys actually meet up? And I know, Greg, you were just talking about that a little bit, but what was going on? I mean, was the chemistry just immediate? It sounds like it was just immediate.
It was. I had been booking a club called Tex. It's a French restaurant for a number of years. And Jay had brought Andy Crichton had brought his band in to play, which was Jay was playing drums.
Okay.
And the other guy was from Australia. If you could tell that story, Jay, and how we met.
Yeah, so I was in this other band called Ashtray Boy, and
that's an interesting name.
Yeah, we've been around. The band's been around for quite a long time. We started in '92.
Front page news with old droopy cock, stroking a crystal in a pot, and a block. Ridicule, slander, you don't care. In your next life you'll be Huggy Bear. Just when you thought.
I guess one of our claims to fame is that Liz Phair was kind of an early incarnation of the band.
Oh, wow.
She sang on our first album.
Nice.
But so we played in LA in 2014, I think.
Yeah.
And that's when we met Greg. That's when I met Greg. And
We actually went to a podcast, didn't we, Jay?
yeah, we met over a podcast.
Nice. Nice. What podcast? Do you guys remember?
Rebecca Balin's podcast. I don't know what her was, a friend of ours, and she invited those guys down to do the podcast. And I knew her, so I just kind of decided to go along, and because I was good friends with Andy already. And at the podcast, I just started talking to Jay, and he's like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago," and blah blah blah. So we just immediately sort of decided to do something together. So
Yeah.
That is, oh man, sometimes it just happens like that. It's awesome. I love hearing stories like that when the connection is just immediate and undeniable.
Yes, sir.
yeah, it was.
The band has quite an interesting name, and
Yeah.
it really didn't do me any favors trying to research you guys, because every time I tried to research the shit that I came up with, holy God, dude, your EP. Oh my gosh, Man's Body Found is not a Google search you want to make. There's some rough stuff that comes up, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the pun. That was the pun on that, the Found EP.
Yeah.
That's where the band name came from, is Man's Body Found. That's the way you always hear a newspaper headline starting out. But we kind of got into the semiotics of it more. We started thinking about it, and it's you can take it in a number of different ways. Like, we sort of think of it as like man, as in like mankind, like man, like our body, like human bodies.
Right.
But it's also the name has become kind of a Rorschach test. I've said this before, where people bring their own kind of personal psychology to it. And I'm on an airplane and there's an old lady and she's like, "What's your band called?" And I'm like, "Man's Body." And they, I get to look like I just made some rude utterance or something. So we get that, I don't know, people think it's gross or that it's homoerotic or something, but
right.
I love it. I think it's a great name. It's a thought-provoking name.
It is.
The challenge is to have a band name that people remember, and that's
for sure.
That's important.
And I like you said, the that you bring your own. You bring your own baggage into that name, to be honest with you. Because when I first heard it, the first thing I listened to a lot of podcasts in addition to making one, and a lot of true crime, because I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of time on my hands during the day at work. So those tend to be longer podcasts. So I listen to a lot of those. So the first thing that comes into my mind is some crime scene in Florida.
Yeah.
So that's my Rorschach right there.
That's it.
So was the band always intended to be like a recording band, or was it initially as a side project from your other bands?
It started out as a side project for my band, Rough Church. I had hired Jay to play drums for me for a 50th birthday show in Chicago that he booked. And so he played drums for Rough Church, which I still have going, but Man's Body is now the priority band.
Oh, okay.
But at that time, my priority band was Rough Church. And after that went really well, we decided that we should do something else together. And so we started Man's Body, and we booked Steve Albini's place called Electrical Audio.
Yes.
And our friend Manny brought us over there from LA. And so Jay played drums, and we got a Marco to play bass on it, and so we immediately did in one day, right, Jay? We just recorded an EP in one day.
Wow!
And so that was the first EP is called Found, and it was just made in one day at Studio B at Electrical Audio.
Oh, and Greg and Marco had never met before that day.
Really? So you guys went? So it started as a two piece, or were you guys a 3-piece? You just hadn't all met each other yet.
Yeah, 3-piece, but we hadn't met each other yet.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, here we are, we're in Chicago. Let's have a blast. Let's have some fun and see where it goes. And, if it didn't go, it didn't go. And if it was something that we didn't want to put out, we probably would not have put it out.
Okay.
But we really had chemistry with Marco. I mean, you and Marco worked together, right, Jay?
We used to, yeah.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. And you guys are all in different parts of the country, right?
Marco is here too.
Okay.
Greg lives in LA and we live in Chicago.
Oh, okay. So this whole pandemic thing with everybody isolating really hasn't affected you guys. I mean, that's nothing new for you.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of, because I have some folks that I can also write with here, and then Jay and I write together. And so we kind of have a bit of a collective going. So there's behind the scenes people that play on the records too, but the face of it is the two of us.
So what is the writing process like for you guys? Is it collaborative between the two of you? Is Marco is he contributing as well?
It's mainly me and Greg, and it varies. Some songs, one of us completely writes. Other songs we kind of go. One person writes the music, the other person writes the lyrics. Other songs we collaborate on both. So we're kind of we're still finding our groove right now because it's kind of all over the place, really.
Okay.
A variety of approaches.
That's fair. So you guys have recorded and released your second full length, A Set of Steak Knives.
Right.
To go along with Man's Body. That is right. Quite an interesting title. So,
thanks.
Where did that come from?
That's me. Jay and I both agreed on it really quickly, though. There's a play by David Mamet called Glengarry Glen Ross. Have you heard of this movie?
Oh, yeah.
And there's a scene in it where Alec Baldwin is standing there berating these guys, and they don't deserve the new leads, and they ain't shit and all this stuff. And he goes, well, there's going to be some new leads, and whoever the first person to do the best gets a Cadillac Eldorado. The second prize is a set of steak knives. And it just has like this really interesting, like almost like, working class ethic, like set of steak knives. And the last prize there's no last prize. You're fired.
Right.
So you either have to do really well and win, or you get a set of steak knives. And we thought that was, I thought that was just really funny. And it kind of says a lot about humanity to me in a way, and I've done that kind of boiler room type work before. I've done that kind of high sales kind of work.
Me too. Glengarry Glen Ross is essential watching for anybody who's been in sales. If you
and I think that we're in sales too. I mean, the bands are in sales. I mean, we're trying to sell our record.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So you guys going to follow this up with like a live album called Coffees for Closers?
Ooh,
maybe.
Now that's a good idea.
A cover can be a picture of Alec Baldwin. I mean, he's a little busy right now, so I don't think he'd mind.
A little busy.
Well, I really like the album. I was listening to the album a lot over the past couple of days, and it's really fun. I'll tell you that my favorite track. All right, I started off the trilogy of Bed of Nails, Last Day on Earth, and Blue Ruin. Those three back to back, and I love that. Those are my favorite songs on the album.
Oh, right on.
Bed of Nails.
Which one's the name?
Bed of Nails.
Bed of Nails?
Yeah, Last Day on Earth and Blue Ruin.
Wow. So Jay, that's 2 out of 3 for you.
Cool, yeah.
Bed of Nails is great. Last Day on Earth is so cool because it's got this Dinosaur Jr. heft to it. So that's one that just goes on repeat for me. So.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely love that. And then Blue Ruin. That spoken word is just so wild. The repetition of some of the parts, the story that's going on there. What is going on there? It sounds maybe autobiographical. Is there any? Did that come from any experiences that you guys have had, or?
I guess just me. Toasting and roasting to our ex-happiness. Barkeep shakes her head. Laughing. Oh, you're blowing off steam. Hey, cheers to me. I get that warm feeling for myself. What's brewing? I guess it's just me tonight. Alone at the Blue Ruin. I can't deal with the past.
I wrote that. I didn't know what to do with that song because I was going to try to sing something over. Jay wrote the whole song, and I couldn't think of anything, and I just started riffing right on the mic. I just made it up like right on the spot, right?
Oh wow!
I think you had some lyrics, and I was like, let's have this be sort of like Marky Smith spoken word kind of thing, speak singing. And then it just kind of clicked.
What do you like about it, Jay?
I love the multiple vocals. Like we did like several different takes, of the vocal track. And then our bass player was like, hey, what would it sound like if we played all the tracks at the same time?
Oh yeah.
And at first I was like, that is like the stupidest idea I've ever heard. And then we did it, and I was like, holy shit, we have to keep it. That's awesome,
Man.
So it was a mistake. Happy mistake.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
Makes the most interesting stuff.
That was me riffing as if I hadn't, I've been married for forever, and, if I were still the single guy at the age that I'm at kind of thing, and if I were that guy, kind of thing, sitting at the bar and, alone. We used to hang out at this place in New York called the Blue Ruin. And so I used that as the spot, where it was set. But it was supposed to be like a California thing too, because I mentioned Santa Barbara and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there is an actual bar in New York that we were hanging out at, right, Jay? Where was that again? In the
it was like Hell's Kitchen.
So it was kind of like throwing out ideas, and those guys just liked what I was doing. But I like spoken word a lot. I'm originally, even before singing in bands, I was a poetry guy.
Oh, really?
So and I used to do stand-up poetry and stuff like that too. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I love it, and I love the humor in it. Like the Red Lobster meals reference. That's just I love.
Yeah.
I love a good story that makes me laugh in the middle of a song. That gets me right in the heart. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of a tragic comic story. Yeah.
Yeah, but those aren't even the singles. So Contact Psi was that the first single that came out?
That's one of them.
Okay.
Again, why did you leave me holding on and on to him? Oh, but does he linger within you? Does he share his boat that's meant for one, meandering downstream?
That sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds like something that was maybe influenced by the past couple of years, the whole pandemic nonsense that we've been going through, the heft of it, and everybody just being tired of it. And it kind of sounds like something that, I guess, like I already said it. Sounds like it was influenced by everybody being separated by the pandemic.
It was written before the pandemic.
Wow.
And it was just written mostly about relationships, trying to connect with people. And it took on its own meaning. And it's kind of part of that now, I think, more than it was intended. But we finished this record and mastered it, right, Jay? Right before the pandemic.
Right.
But we didn't put it out, until a year later because of all the stuff going on.
Oh, wow.
But that song had nothing to do with the pandemic. And now that it is there and it's attached to that time, it's fine that it's like that.
Yeah, I mean, it fits. It does. Even though it was written, it does feel like it was written before. It feels like it was written about the time. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That kind of happens sometimes in writing, where you kind of almost can predict the future or something in writing. You can divine future events. It's weird. It's freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to kind of make sure it's the song, and I do this for all songs, is not so specific and set in a time or attached to anything. Because if it's going to be about the pandemic, and then it could also be about the war or whatever, as long as it's not too specific, but it's about emotion or about, a feeling, it works for a lot of different things,
Yeah.
So.
Sure. And then the other single is 40 Ounce Kid.
Gold mine all the way from Jackson. Do you understand? Came here to be a new MC. Show your skills to me. Says it kills when it flows, but it comes and goes. 40 ounce kid.
Right.
Yeah.
That I like that. Like I said, I like the album top to bottom, but that middle chunk is just my favorite. And the last song, I left the set of my own TV show.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. How did that develop?
It was me again. I kept getting these spam emails, and it was from Kelly Ripa, Storms Off the Set. I don't know if you were getting those emails, and I was so sick of them. And I don't really know who Kelly Ripa is, but then I figured out that she was a TV person or something.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, why would you storm off the set and make an ass of yourself? Why don't you just leave? And so that's how the song started. It was like, what if you were the host of a show and the show was so going not the direction that you wanted it to go? And I can imagine a band being like that, And so it's like, instead of making a big dramatic scene, what if you just, left everybody cold sitting there, and that was the idea.
I like that idea.
I left the set of my own TV show. I left the set of my own TV show. The crowd is buzzing to the hype man. I won't go back there. Spotlights and regret. Take off your headsets. It's time to wrap.
That. It's just me, I coming up with something that appeals to me and then seeing it through,
That sounds like I may have to try that when I record one of these podcasts. Just end in the middle of it, just like take off my headphones and walk away.
Yeah.
We'll just see what happens. Somebody that don't care if they come back on or not.
Yeah.
The thing is that like I was getting a little help from the gal that plays with us, Caitlin, and we were just like throwing ideas out. It's like, what would really happen? Like, and I just wanted to have a lot of different references to like a TV set and like cameras and headphones and it's, like microphones and whatever, you know what I mean? That was the idea of like, and then the big line is that, they want to push me out there and keep me doing this like a circus act, but they want to keep reminding me I have a contract, so
I love that line.
Yeah.
That and the cattle prod. I like that too.
The cattle prod, yeah.
That was some awesome imagery. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was fun. That was a fun one to do. And then
that bass
Jay
line.
did a lot of guitar stuff.
That bass line is awesome.
I was going for like a Stranglers bass line. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Stranglers.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of like a disco, but I think Stranglers are kind of disco in a way. They're kind of post-punk and disco. And we're into that shit. We're really into like post-punk and any kind of rhythm or dancing thing, Talking Heads, things like that. We're into all that stuff. So,
oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So are there plans to take this out live? Are you guys playing this live currently?
We're playing in Chicago.
Yeah, we've got a show in Chicago booked for late April.
Oh, excellent.
Really, we had a whole year of shows booked around the country, and we had to cancel them because of COVID.
Yeah.
So we're still kind of recuperating. How
are you guys doing that? Because there's a lot of extra stuff on this album. With the band as a three-piece, you've got horns, you've got synths, you've got all kinds of stuff going on. Are you having to pare the songs down, or are you, pulling a Great White, once bitten, twice shy, and pull up with 2 tour buses full of people?
We normally play with about 5 or 6 people.
Okay.
So it's not too big. It's not too elaborate. That's enough to cover it. Drums, bass, vocals, 2 guitars, and keyboard/violin.
Okay. Do the songs take on a different life when you kind of have to pare down the horns and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't think we had any horns on it. It's all synthesizers
strings and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Strings.
Yeah, the strings and a flugelhorn. I read, I believe.
Oh right, yeah.
So anything with a flugelhorn, I'm in.
There was a flugelhorn.
Classically mine.
Yeah, we probably won't do that one. Practically Mine is not really a song we do too much, do we?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever done it live.
No.
Oh wow. Well, hey, maybe on Coffees for Closers, that can be one of the special tracks on it.
Sure.
That would be cool. We should get Probin. We had this guy who plays with Brian Wilson band, the Beach Boys. And,
yeah.
And he plays with him, and he's like a multi guy. He can set up he did all the horns for that song.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I hate to cut this short because it's having a blast learning about this, but I'm a cheap bastard, so I have free Zoom, so we're on a bit of a time limit. So where can people find that? I know the vinyl's coming out. The album's been released, but the vinyl is on its way. How can people find the album and follow you guys on social media, find out about tour dates and things like that?
You can go to our Facebook page, which is Man's Body Chicago. Facebook at facebook.mansbodychicago. Instagram is the same, Man's Body Chicago. We have a Bandcamp website where we have the album streaming and downloading, and you can buy the LPs there starting on the 25th. And
we'll have them at the shows.
Oh, cool.
We'll have them at the shows too.
Oh,
the album is called A Set of Steak Knives. as we mentioned before.
I love that, man. And having that Glenn Ross connection is just makes it even better.
Right.
I love. Well, guys, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you spending time. I'm sorry we got cut a little short, but
No problem.